Yes, Sandra Safaro, 132 Bruce Street in Hopkins. I am here representing a number of Hopkins citizens bewildered by the Selectmen's decision on appointing Steve Slaman as permanent fire chief. You appointed a search committee consisting of a town manager, an HR person, a person from personnel committee, fire chief, and selectmen. 18 interested people applied for the job, and the committee spent many hours narrowing the finalists to 2 individuals. One finalist withdrew, leaving Steve Slaman remaining finalists of who should have been appointed permanent chief. Points of interest of Hopkinton is a very fast growing town. Hopkinton is larger in area than the town of Framingham. Hopkinton has several unique issues other towns do not have. It is a home of liquefied natural gas facility. Hopkinton is the starting point of the annual BA Marathon. Hopkinton Fire Chief serves as the emergency ambulance services coordinator for this event. As the past chief since 1970, all have extensive training to meet state and federal guidelines and certifications. Acting Chief Deputy Steve Slaman has served this town for many years in the capacity. Many letters to his credibility has given testimony to that. Why should there be any further discussion towards this appointment?
Good evening, my name is Jim Pine. I live on Pond Street. I've lived here all my life. I have both an interest and a connection with the Hopkinton Fire Department. When I was born 73 years ago, my father was the fire chief, had been for a number of years, was until his death in 1964. In the last 50 plus years, we've had 5 fire chiefs that took it from a volunteer fire department to a fine professional fire department that it is today. I read where you've decided to appoint Steve Slaman as an interim chief. I heard and read about the process you went through rightfully when Kenny gave us notice. You went through a process, you appointed a committee that did their job, and they made their recommendation unanimously. I've known Steve both personally and professionally for a lot of years. I can't imagine a more qualified guy. Of the 5 fire chiefs in the 50 years, 4 of them grew up in this community, grew up in the fire service, and each one developed the fire department to what it is today. I think you're remiss to appoint Steve as an interim chief. I'm urging you to reconsider and to appoint him as a permanent fire chief going forward. Thank you.
Tom McIntyre, 29 Pleasant Street. I would like to say I'm in support of Steve Slaman to be permanent chief. Like Chief Clark had said, the Hopkinton Fire Department, you can put him with anybody in the state. And I'll back that up with him anytime. So I definitely think you should make that choice tonight to make him a permanent chief. There's no reason not to. I don't know what reasoning you have that you want more than one choice, but in this case, I think you have somebody that you will not find a better person than Steve Slaman. And I'd also, while I'm here, I'd like to thank all the retirees for the service they've done to the town. Thank you.
My name is Tom Terry, Maple Street in Hopkinton. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your service. I have one suggestion. When it comes to later in the evening, when you're discussing the protocol as to what we're going to do going forward with appointing an interim or a permanent chief, I agree with the previous 4 speakers. Pleading that you at least bring it up for discussion. I know there won't be any public input, but I think it should be reviewed in your minds, and I think I'd like to see a show of hands of the people in the room that came here and supported Steve. Could I do that, Mr. Chairman? Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick O'Brien, 13 Ray Street, Hopkinton. First thing, if I could, I would also like to thank our retirees. Every time I came up to the town hall, always met at the selectman's office with a big smile from Jerry. Very helpful. Maureen's always been that staple down in the treasurer's office. Lieutenant Wallace, had the pleasure of working him with 30 years. Came over from the island via Upton and made a home here in Hopkinton. And Chief Clark, what can we say? Born and raised in Hopkinton, started as a call firefighter, raised up the ranks from a call man to a firefighter, to a lieutenant, to a deputy chief, to the chief. No ambition to go any place but here in Hopkinton. Geez, it kind of sounds familiar. Kind of sounds familiar to me. Sounds like Steve Slaman. Those of us that got to know Steve realize his love is here in Hopkinton. He's not going to be a stepping stone. He came up as a call firefighter, to a regular firefighter, to a lieutenant, to the deputy chief. If I could, without offending anyone on the board, I've had the pleasure over my 32 years of working in Hopkinton of knowing many, many boards of selectmen. Some that call themselves Democrats, some that call themselves Republicans, males, females, people that were in Hopkinton for their lifelong, new residents of Hopkinton, independents. The board has been made up of all different types. And I'm sad to say that I've never felt as disconnected with a board of selectmen than I do with this board right here. I've been a town employee for 32 years, town resident for 25 years. And I feel no connection with this board of selectmen. As a member of the Hopkinton Police Association, we've had events, and sadly I haven't seen a lot of members of the board there. I've been to other events in town, I've not seen members of the board there. I feel that this board, for whatever reason, whether it's intentional, whether it's your personality, whether it's the new town government we have with the town manager, that you've stepped back from getting to know town employees and the town residents. And I think that's a mistake. Because if you took the time to know town employees, to know the resume of Deputy Slamman, to know his love of the town, his love of the police fire department, you'd realize that he indeed is the best candidate and the best person for that job. Thank you.
Hi, Sandy Altamira, Elm Street. There's a lot of things I could say, a lot of comments I won't. I do have one question first. The search committee that you had, I assume that you gave them a parameter to work with. Did they not follow it? Did you tell them you expected them to narrow it down to 1 or 2 candidates, or did you want to see all 18? Did that committee fail in its duty? That's one of my first question, if you could answer that.
Go ahead, Debbie.
All right, the second question is there any kind of monetary amount that goes with this kind of a search? Is this free to the town, or do we have to pay to redo it? So those are my 2 questions. The only comment I am going to make is I think that there's a great outpouring of support for the man you've decided to make the interim fire chief, but I feel that this town runs on volunteers. We ask our volunteers to do a lot. You put together a committee and you've thrown away all of their work. I think it's deeply insulting to them, and I think it's deeply insulting to the candidates. I think you've made a mistake. I think you should step back and say you made a mistake and just go ahead and appoint Steve as the permanent fire chief.
Personnel committee. Just 2 comments. We have open disagreement, which I appreciate and respect. And I do think it was a thoughtful and rigorous process, as we said before. They said that we had committed to only presenting qualified candidates, people who could do the job. And we said unanimously that these are the 2 that would do the job. So that's I just want to make sure that's on record. Secondly, we chose to come to Hopkinton 16 years ago for a number of different reasons. And hearing tonight openly, and what's been going on in the comments and everything just makes me really, really appreciate the town. Dale told me I still am not officially a townie. Work towards that. But, I just think this is wonderful. It just makes me really appreciate the town here. So thank you very much. Last chance.